Doop-a-doop. I am late. Doop-a-doop-doop-doop. Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum-bum. Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum. We're going to try sitting this week. This is what we're going to try. Mainly because I'm a little exhausted. So we're going to try sitting this week. And my hair is a mess. My hair is atrocious. All right. Apologize for the lateness. We're definitely, me and Tom, we're still working on we recorded our commentary watching the Snyder Cut. I think you'll hopefully have some hilarious things to enjoy there. When we get that edited, that'll go out to our Patreon users first, and then we'll upload it on YouTube after that. And I'm also working on my review, so got a little behind. And since we were trying to record it while we went through, we're in a groove, we really didn't want to throw that off. So I apologize for running late, but that's where we were at. And should be good to go. So I'll let folks get in here a little bit. So we got the main topic, got two news topics that we covered during State of the Nerd Unions on Monday. So I will kind of hit those again on this show just a little bit, but I'll mainly move on to the other news things that happened that didn't fit on Sotnu, and then get to our main topic. And the main topic tonight, which I'll repeat again a little bit later, is the problem with capitalistic diversity, or supporting capitalism and being diverse. This is not saying that capitalism is necessarily bad. You can have that debate and argument elsewhere. We can have that. I mean, I don't mind having that conversation. We can definitely have that conversation another time. But it's not exactly what I'm going after. The main tenets of that are just, if we funnel money into a thing, is it necessarily going to produce the result that we want? So I'll drop that nugget in there, but I'll let folks get around a little bit. Hope everyone's having a good night so far. Good week. Hate to start the show off somber, but definitely my heart goes out to the families in Atlanta, Georgia, and the surrounding areas. The folks that lost people during the shooting, terrorist act that happened, and we need to call it what it is. So hate to start the show off like that. No, it's a sad way to go, but specifically for I don't mean that sad way to start off, but yeah, need to be cognizant of things that are going around us in the world, especially when we're going to be talking about a show that's definitely heavy on race, right? Even though it's the super blurred, so it's a black nerd. Gotta be watching out for our Asian brothers and sisters as well. We definitely talk about those as well, topics as well on this show, so that's not off limits. But yeah, hearts go out to them. I hate the cliche phrase thoughts and prayers, so I'm not gonna say that. Just my heart goes out to them. All right. If you're in the chat, let me know. I will see your questions. And yes, I know I was standing last week. I am sitting. I said this is a work in progress, so we're going to see how we do. Yes, I realize there's a tangle of cords behind me. It's also driving me nuts. I'm waiting for some panels to come in that will soundproof. That'll help soundproof the room a little bit. And then also, yes, cover up the horrible cable management going on back there. Cool. All right, so we talked about Yaphet Kotto. Yaphet Kotto played Parker in Alien. He also was Mr. Big, Dr. Kananga. Oh, let me get that out of the way. Goodness. In Live and Let Die, played a Roger Moore Bond villain. Passed away this past week at age 81 and survived by his wife, Tessie Senahan. I joked on Monday maybe it was probably Wednesday, sorry, on our show, Commander Shipp. On Wednesday that he is the black guy that tells you not to go into a place. Someone goes and does the thing, and he ends up having to save your ass. So while I think there were probably some other black actors that were more impactful on me in sci-fi, I think he definitely kind of created a role simultaneously in sci-fi and horror for himself, and also for other actors to come in and step in. Like people forget that he was in Running Man opposite of Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is another kind of odd sci-fi-ish bent, and kind of gets to play with some weird concepts. He was always getting into different movies like that in that kind of niche. He's also played, it was a Homicide: Life in the Street as well. Played a detective in that show as well. Some other things you might know him in. And had pretty much been out of the spotlight for a long time. Definitely probably the last 10 to 20 years. So hadn't really been in a whole lot in his later part of discography, but definitely want to recognize him. And Alien in particular, I like Bond, but Alien is where I love the Alien franchise. I'm on that all day. So Parker, I think Parker is hilarious in doses, but is also very serious, can get the job done in that movie. And he, he's not the last one to die, which, hey, there you go, Parker. Second to last, right? Yeah. No, or first it's close. He almost, and the only reason he dies in that movie is because he's trying to help somebody, and he's like, run! Get out of the way! He had a flamethrower. Maybe could have killed the alien in that movie. Obviously, we didn't want to take the shine away from Sigourney Weaver. So, my heart goes out to Sigourney getting the big ups in Alien, but there's an alternate universe where Parker flamethrowers the alien, and it's over. And it's done. It's OV. But, yeah, so rest in peace, Yaphet. And we will move on to some encouraging news from Marvel Phase 4. So Kevin Feige was recently asked about Marvel's plans in Phase 4. So first things that came up immediately were the repercussions of losing Chadwick Boseman. So anytime you think about diversity efforts, when you lose someone that you've been able to work with closely. So with Chadwick Boseman and Ryan Coogler, they worked I don't want to say exclusively, but intensively on the impact for Black Panther and what it would do in the community, from his first appearance in Civil War to actually being in Black Panther, from the music choices, and obviously that mantle and responsibility was going to carry on into Black Panther 2. So it can't be understated what it means to lose him in that kind of way. So Kevin Feige is very aware of that. It's not surprised at all that he'd be. Let's see. Can we get a picture of Kevin up there? Yeah, there you go, Kevin. There you go. So he's very aware of that, and definitely. So to be clear, this next thing's not saying that they're just pivoting and trying to make Mackie that. But they are cognizant that Anthony Mackie, for getting ready to actually tonight. Falcon and the Winter Soldier will premiere early this morning. Since I've already been up for the Snyder Cut, it's not going to be any problem for me to watch that, knock that out this morning. But he is taking on the mantle of Cap, and he's struggling. He's kind of struggling with that a little bit. So it's not surprising that he wants to pushing that into another mantle for one of their black leads to take on. And obviously we know Shuri in some form or fashion has done that in the comics, taking on the Black Panther mantle. So they've got at least two gimmies there that they can do to I think if they try to make someone be Chadwick, that's a bad idea. I don't think you're going to be able to do that. But I do think you can get Mackie more screen time, make him more impactful in the moments that he's in. Those things will be seen and appreciated. And it seems like they are aware of that. And the things that stand out to me whenever we're talking about changes in diversity is the writer's room, the producer's room, and specifically, I want to bring up a quote that Feige said. Well, he said how lucky him and the team are to have comics to guide them as far as how they design and storytell things. He made it clear that Marvel doesn't want to have a room full of people that all look the same when planning their new stories. And he said he thinks that it's a combination. We're lucky that we have the comics to guide us. They've been relatively progressive over the decades for their time. The character lineup allows us. We're not creating full cloth any of our characters. They've been in the comics for years. And we've been finally able to tell these stories. Looking at the remarkably positive experiences we've had, making sure that the room where it happens is... I guess I glossed over that when I was preparing for this earlier. So nice reference there, Kevin. That in a room where it happens, not a room full of people that all look the same. When that's not the case, when there are people from various backgrounds and genders, stories are better. Being at a company for 20 years and having released 23 movies, it has always been, how do you keep things fresh and surprising on a story level? So I'm glad that's where they're at now, and I don't necessarily want to beat them up for where they are now. That's not always been where Marvel's arrived at. And I think that's definitely where it's evident that those changes are happening. So if someone talked to me about was Monica Rambeau magical Negro, there's a couple other instances or some questions about things in Marvel, and I would just say I think recently Marvel's done a better. There might be other things I'm upset at Marvel about that aren't like in the diversity realm, but when it comes to that, like I think the stories for the black characters are getting better. And if Falcon getting to run his own show or be basically in like a buddy cop situation with Winter Soldier, whatever happens with Shuri, I think those two are going to be kind of the tent poles. Monica, in whatever way she gets plugged into either Captain Marvel, maybe her own movie, or comes in like another series. We talked about Agent Atlas. So you got 3 heavy hitters right there. We haven't even talked about Storm possibly coming back. Maybe you flesh out and give War Machine some more time, so get him kind of out of that ancillary territory. So very quickly, you got strong leads, but you can also have some like supporting characters around that. These your black main characters that could be really good. So, and to be clear, even though he's saying he's been at the company for 20 years. He's talking about things staying fresh at a story level. I don't think, even though I'm kind of taking on task a little bit for the early history in movie making, I don't think that Kevin is trying to say that they were good on diversity in the beginning. And I hope that's not what he's saying, because that's not the case. But I think they've gotten better. They still got ways to go, ways to improve. But there is a roadmap here that's a lot more positive than it has been in the past. Cool. All right. So, now an organization I really can get my teeth into, just sink my teeth into. I'm going to get them. Actually, let me phrase this. Not the Time Up organization, not Time's Up. I'm on their side on this one. So this is them going after the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, better known for the folks that organized the Golden Globes. And if you've heard me in the last couple episodes of Commander Shipp Show, I've talked about how bad the Golden Globes are. There's a reason me and Tom just do not care about them and do not really put a lot of stock into them. Before we even get to the diversity efforts, they just are a poorly organized and ran show over there. And honestly, if you given some of the requirements I'm going to read, if you're like, did you ever want to be able to like get in on that or be able to work with them? It's like, no, because I don't live in LA. You can't be a part of them if you're not in LA. But the Time's Up organization listed out some ways that they could improve. And a lot of it, this may sound drastic. So one of the big ones that kind of pops out immediately is asking everyone to resign. And immediately that may come up to you like, whoa, that seems like kind of a big one. Oh, excuse me. Maybe I need more whiskey. That's good. I guess technically bourbon. All right. So cleaning the house, getting everyone out of there. It's got parts to do with the corruption that no one really wants to talk about with the Golden Globes, and everybody kind of hand wrings and doesn't really touch because. So, we talked a little bit about the 4-year consideration boards. So that would be basically a board you'll put up in Hollywood that says, this is 4-year consideration. We want you to think about this movie that's coming up for nomination. It's during the nomination period, during nomination season, before the noms come out. But past that, what happens is some shady, hey, do you want to come out to my cabin, and ski with us? Or hey, do you want to come on a vacation to the Caymans? And I wish I'd made those up. Even recently, Paramount Network had a lucrative scheme to send people on a French excursion that Paramount Network hosted. And if you're wondering, like, what is that? So how did that, okay, they did that. So what did it impact? If you remember the series Emily in Paris, got 2 Globe nominations and everyone went, what? That? Emily in Paris got Globe nominations? Why? So there's been just a blanket everyone putting blinders on to the bribes, outright bribery that has been happening with the Golden Globes. No one talks about it. So Time's Up recommendation is like, if you clear everyone out, if you get them all out and then restart, let an independent board come in the hiring process. So fire everyone. Now, you may be able to rehire some of these people. It's not saying that every single person that's in it is involved in this and that everyone needs to go. But if you fire everyone and have that expectation of, we got a clean house, you may be able to come back if you're actually doing a good job and we're not involved in these things. But we need to have an independent board come here and clean it up and bring it in. And they're not really interested in doing that. We talked about that you need to be in the California area. This said Los Angeles, but I think you just need to be in the state of California to even be eligible to be on the HFPA's group. Because so far they only have 87 members. Time's Up recommendation was for 300 members, and that would also, you do that from default. It also help break up kind of the niche, not niche, but the kind of cliquish and toxicity there, because you're getting not even just from a diversity of skin tones and like experiences, but it's also like opinions, right? As far as like, no, I do not agree with that, or you're not stuck in this Hollywood vacuum that's happening there. So that's a really large one. We talked on Wednesday as well about press conferences that were denied to like Bridgerton, Queen and Slim, and Girls Trip. 3 black projects. And what a press conference would be for the Hollywood Foreign Press is the opportunity to kind of present your show so they can be considered for a nomination. And those 3 projects were denied such opportunity. And we talked on Wednesday again that the one that stuck out the most was Queen and Slim, a movie about police brutality that I think really would have been a really good one to be in that mix, and I just didn't have the opportunity. So the issues are just kind of racking up for the Golden Globes / HFPA, and I think the Time's Up recommendations for them are pretty, not even just fair, like dead on. It's just a wild amount of corruption that needs to be addressed. And if you just try to string this out and just add and change pieces, I don't think that's going to have the impact that it needs to have. So I'll take a quick pause. So if people have thoughts, and I'll catch up on the chats. All right. So if you are on Facebook and YouTube, I can see you. We had some people commenting on YouTube, and I did not get to their comments a show or 2 ago, and I apologize. So I want people across the platforms to feel comfortable. We just hadn't had people commenting on YouTube, so I was like, what? I was like, what? I just went right past me. So I apologize. We are watching all 3. We can get we can get Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, so we can follow that. Lenny Fitness is saying Golden Globes are like FIFA and IOC. Yes. International Olympic Committee. Yes, it is very much like that. Not so, like, obviously they don't have the international impact. Or you know what? Even as I say that, that's not completely true. They don't. To scale, I would say, I guess they don't have the same, they don't have the same impact, but they definitely have some turbulent issues on the international front as far as what films get. Because we just had that conversation about Minari. Minari was even though it is about a Korean family living in Arkansas and adjusting to American life there, it's still an American produced, American directed film, even though the individual producers and directors and actors and things, like their backgrounds are very diverse. So it's like, that's not an international film. A French produced film would be an international film. If it was a Korean drama that was produced in Korea, that would be an international film. But it's an American produced film. So that's another, gosh. I don't want to stay on the Golden Globes. I really don't. Because I could really be on here ragging on them for a while. But just they need help. They need some help. All right. We're going to move right on from that, right into colorism. So just prepare yourself. If you don't know, I love Craft Country. I enjoyed so much the nerdery, the amount of nerddom that happened for the black folks in that show, particularly like Jonathan Majors and Journey Smollett, like them getting to basically have like an Indiana Jones / Goonies / Supernatural story happen that had a little bit of camp into it, very pulpy. So there's so many things I can glowingly say about that. So it makes me sad to then have to take some of the producers to task, or whoever was involved with costuming. So on TikTok, actress Kelly Amira talked about her experiences working as an extra on the set of Lovecraft Country. And specifically, she was playing a younger version of another character in a wedding photo. I don't know if that was like Jonathan Major's mother. I can't remember if it was like his mother in the universe. And because she was lighter toned than what his, at least the older version of his mother looked like, they effectively tried to darken her up in the for the show. And there's a number of issues of this. Most things that stick out most recently as I don't know if y'all remember Zoe Saldana trying to play Nina Simone, and they tried to darken her up for that role, effectively putting a black person into blackface. Effectively, I don't necessarily. It may be uncomfortable to hear it that way, but that's basically what it was. You know, a way that you can avoid this is just hire someone that looks like the person you're trying to cast. Like, why? Why would we put extra foundation and darker makeup on this person? Like, why? Why was that the solution? We don't need that. We didn't need it. We didn't need it. So it is an unfortunate issue. And HBO has talked about, it's very disappointing to learn about the issue. They said it should not have happened. They're taking steps to ensure this doesn't occur again in the future. Yada, 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 yada. Typical company line. I think the thing that just stands out to me is who made the, and actually let me pull up I still got the Time's Up thing. But here's a comparison for you. The role she played is on the, I'm trying to figure out what side that would be for y'all. But in her braids is obviously her before photo. And then in like the period piece dress is her, you can see how different her skin looks. So that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. That wasn't needed. We didn't need to do that. And for a show that had already done so many amazing things, just from like, diversity of like, body types. That's the thing I don't think gets talked about enough in Lovecraft Country. Is like there's just so many different body types of people doing things and having loving moments, getting to show off skin and stuff in a way that just hasn't been done well, especially for black bodies. I loved it. So just it makes me disappointed to have to like report this. So if I had to throw a dart and hopefully hit close to bullseye, I think there may have been, like, if I'm being nice, there might have been a miscommunication on who needed to be in that role, and they already hired her and didn't want to fire. But that's also, again, I said it's being generous, because when has Hollywood ever been nervous about firing someone, just bringing someone else in? So I think someone in the casting director or in hair and makeup needed to make that decision of like, hey, they don't match who you've already cast in this older role. We need to make an adjustment. But I'm not going to put darker makeup on this person to make that work. You know, someone in that trailer, in the makeup trailer, has got to be like, nah. You know, and if a producer said it and said they need to push back and be like, nah. So I don't know where it'd just be hard for me to imagine that the director did that. So I don't think Misha Green would do that. That sounds odd. So I'm thinking something broke down between casting director and producer. All right. Hello, Kevin. Hello, guy. What you from? What am I from? Where I'm from is St. Louis, Missouri. What I'm from, maybe you mean the Clyde's May bourbon I'm drinking right now. It's quite delicious. All right. Let's see. And Taryn said, according to the actress, yeah. She looks like, she does look like the actress that she does look like the younger version of the actress she's playing. But come on, either just leave the skin alone. Don't touch it. You ain't got to touch it. You don't have to touch it. I don't think anyone would have been like, oh man, that's not, or hire someone that, gosh. I'm not, Taryn, you know what? I'm not going to stand that one too much. I'm not going to stay on that one too much, because if I do, then it's just not going to be good. It's just not going to be good. I will keep pressing. All right. So this one I feel like is a great lead into our main topic. So, this news story was about Hollywood's failure to back diverse minority-led projects, and there's a dollar amount to it. It's a study done by McKinsey and Company on the film and TV industry. It's not surprising that there's this kind of gap in how much money is available to minority projects, but the idea that it's losing Hollywood $10 billion by not supporting it, and the thing that popped out to me is the return on investment, and so it's talking about the number of comedies and dramas in black television are so high that if you back this and it becomes successful, your return on investment is so much higher because the amount of money that you're putting into those projects is not nearly as much as like saying backing a Marvel movie or backing a sci-fi movie. So this track is very, like, again, the report's available at McKinsey and Company. I'll put a link to it in the chat. It's a very good report. It was an article that we pulled up from, where did we pull it? We're going to pull it from Deadlines if you want to kind of get the synopsis of the report, and it's really good. So yeah, I wasn't surprised that that issues weren't surprising, but the amount of money that's being lost was crazy. And I've typically gone on record to say that I think that when Hollywood sees that something is productive, is profitable, they tend to want to make more of it, right? So if you think about Black Panther made $1 billion, it's not going to be hard to greenlight the next one, to greenlight Black Panther 2, or if someone else comes with another project and says, I think this would be, and just like, I have an idea for a Luke Cage movie and I think I can knock it out of the park. They're not going to be as gun shy when you see that Black Panther made $1 billion, right? You're going to be like, hey, even if you don't hit $1 billion, you might hit 300, you might hit 500 million. Okay, I'll green light that. I will put a paycheck to that. And I do want to highlight a couple other things that came out in that report. So they're talking about the amount of representation as far as. Let me check my notes again. Sorry, folks. I had a 6% figure somewhere. Oh, well, okay. So if you can reverse do the math. So I am always really big about the producing and directing, because as much as seeing yourself is important, I think those things get fixed if you have the directors and producers in place, that eventually you'll get the casting right. But if you don't have the people that are doing the casting, directing, and doing the producing and the writing, directing right, you could cast a black person in the right role, but then have them saying words and things that don't make any sense because that writing room isn't diverse. So another thing came out of the report, and I'll read it verbatim from the Deadline article. At the top of the Hollywood food chain, there's a severe underrepresentation of black people in decision-making and leadership roles. Black professionals hold few executive C-suite roles throughout the community, so that would be any three letter C, like CEO, COO, CTO, kind of positions like that. For context, the study found that 87% of TV executives and 92% of film executives are white. So I want you to hear that again. For context, the study found that 87% of TV executives and 92% of film executives are white. The film industry in particular remains disproportionately white, ranking last among industries and behind sectors such as energy and finance. Dang! Oh, man. To add to that, the agents and executive staff at the industry's top 3 talent agencies were about 90% white, and the partners of these agencies were 97% white. And they gave a series of recommendations, which I'll get to in the main topic a little bit, but that's staggering. Those numbers are staggering because, one, they don't even represent the breakout of race for the U.S., because that gets closer to like 67% white, and kind of can fall off and change there depending on Hispanic or non-Hispanic. So being in the 90s is pretty rough. So that means like not even your fraction of pie there to be even like black representation, which I'm obviously it's very near and dear to my heart. But if we're talking about other minorities, like you're fighting for a sliver of that that doesn't even represent the population in the U.S. Like that's pretty bad. Let's see. I liked that they also talk about the concept of the black tax, and black tax basically being a fee that black professionals in TV film often need to pay. So a way to think about it is the amount of money that you may need to, let's see, opportunities to excel in your craft, to get access to cameras, get lending, get lending for a project, how much you have to raise to be able to do something compared to some of your peers. Spike Lee has talked about this quite a bit. Some people talk about like Spike Lee's pretty prolific. Spike Lee would probably be a lot more prolific if he didn't have to spend as much of his own money to get things done. And whenever you're trying to get a movie financed, it takes a number of partners to be able to come together to make something happen. It's usually not getting just one company involved, particularly if it's a smaller project. You're probably gonna have to get multiple people going in to help you with that. And so that's already just a hurdle in getting a film started. And then when you are a black creative or a minority creative, that is even more complicated. So they specifically called it the black tax, but you could also just call that a minority tax, and you'll see ways how that changes depending on the category that we're talking about. But that definitely can apply across the board, just in different ways. So this is a really good report. I could probably spend a whole time or episode talking just about this report. But definitely check it out when you get a chance. Taryn, thank you for dropping the link for the Deadline article. But definitely recommend. If you reading the whole report, you might be like, but at least read the Deadline article, and it give you a really good summarization of what happened or what the findings of that report. Cool. But that leads me. So I teased the Black Panther, the amount of money that it made, and that it eliminates excuses. So I teased that to get into our next topic. And do I have next photo up? I want to talk about, the McKinsey & Company Group did give 4 steps on how to address this. I'm going to cover that at the end of the main topic, and I hope you'll see why when I talk about the problem of capitalistic diversity. I know that's a mouthful, or if you just want to say capitalism and diversity being hand in hand, you definitely, if you like that title better, let me know. Let me know in the chat, and I might change it when we post this on Spotify and on our other platforms. So I want to talk about, to kick this off, there's one movie that stands out in my mind that we need to talk about. And it's definitely one that's come out in recent memory. And, I could go back to blaxploitation films as far as how to support a minority projects, or the ways those were the only vehicles for some black performers that weren't getting big roles. Like the only things they could get were blaxploitation for a while. Like Pam Grier comes to mind immediately, of like, she kind of got pigeonholed in blaxploitation films until later in her life. And even then, it's like, she really should have had more opportunities. So we could spend a lot of time on that. But I'm surprisingly going to pick a movie that I've had a lot of personal experience with. I've talked to some friends about pretty regularly, because I was concerned when that film came out, what it meant or what it was going to do for how we view supporting a film that we care about. And so Lindy Finn is saying people only care about black folks if they make them money. Not wrong. I wouldn't say that's the only thing, but that is definitely it's a factor. I'm going to get to that in a second. So the movie Ghostbusters. This is the Ghostbusters 2016 reboot that had an all-woman cast. Leslie Jones, Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, and then Kate McKinnon. Oh, Kate McKinnon. Be still my heart. I love Kate McKinnon. I think she's one of my favorite parts in that movie. But when Ghostbusters was coming out, I'm going to try to give, I probably need to do an episode just on the things that happened behind the scenes of that movie, but I'll try to say it super quickly. Ivan Reitman, the director and creator, with Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis of the original Ghostbusters, was not directing per se this new reboot, but was kind of in there, kind of consulting. And Paul Feig hadn't officially gotten a job to direct the new movie. And there was a lot of back and forth between him and Amy Pascal, who was previously one of the chief Sony creative director for anything that was coming out, like The Dictator and things like that. And unfortunately was involved, it was her emails that got released that kind of gave us a lot of insight to the problems of this. So while that is an unfortunate invasion of privacy, it did bring to light a lot of things that people were speculating about, things that are going behind the scenes in Ghostbusters. And so that's important, but we'll get to that in a second. But a lot of things are happening behind the scenes where they just didn't like what Ivan Reitman wanted to have happen on the film, and he ends up stepping away. And as an industry insider or other industry execs, you're kind of just hearing about this and you're like, I'd be surprised if that comes out well, right? Because you need a production, like productions are hectic enough as it is, so you don't want extra things making it more complicated. You don't want a ton of script rewrites. Script rewrites happen, but if you're constantly going back and forth and having a bunch of things happen at the midnight hour as you're, getting new pages and things like those are problems. That's an issue, and it can hurt the quality of your product that comes out. And then, unfortunately, again, in that email traffic, we start to see the fights between Ivan Reitman, who had eventually made him step away, Amy Pascal asserting more control in her role there, and then even the actresses that are involved with the Ghostbusters movie trying to get out because they felt like they'd done a bad job. Paul Feig himself also in those emails saying he felt like he did a bad job. All right, but we could get into that in more detail. But I give you all that preface to say, we kind of had a feeling that this wasn't going to be great. It just wasn't going to be produced great. Now, if you've ever heard me talk about my review thoughts, is that, and this is kind of simplifying what Roger Ebert has said multiple times in different interviews and things he's written, is that a movie needs to be technically good, constructed good, and enjoyable. But you don't want to be unenjoyable and technically bad, because that's almost unsurvivable. So, would I say Ghostbusters is technically bad? Yeah. Do people enjoy it? Sure. There's plenty of people that enjoy it. So you hit one of those, cool. It may not, and again, there's also the facet of if it wasn't designed for me in mind. So I also have to take that into account. So there's going to be things that would hit for other people, and particularly for women, that's not going to hit for me. That's also okay. That's fine. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is once the infamous YouTube trailer hit, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you might still be able to see the stats on this if you go on YouTube. But once you hit once the first trailer for this movie came out, people came out of the woodworks. Particularly, unfortunately, I have to call it the white males in the room, but that's primarily who it was. We have stats on that. Because when you up and downvote things on YouTube, we have metrics, so we can figure these things out. And also, you outed yourself in the comments section. Just downvoted this trailer. Now the trailer is not great, but also most trailers aren't great anyway. So I didn't like, oh, okay, who cares? But oh gosh, why is this being downvoted that bad? Like, it's not great, but it's not that bad. Goodness. That moment redefined how to interact or support a movie. And I don't think it gets talked about enough. Hence why I'm bringing it up to you. So again, that trailer gets downvoted, gets reported in mainstream news as, this movie's being attacked because they're women. Well, that's also true. It is being attacked because they're women. There might have been people that are legitimate, like, I feel like you're attacking my childhood. I don't really have time to parse them out of that nonsense. So sorry, you're kind of going to get lumped in with everyone. And that's what happened in the media as well. So the next response was, we need to go support this to make sure that it doesn't get doesn't have a poor showing, and that we'll get more movies like this in the future. And you're starting to see where maybe the things are starting to click about what problems this might make. Because one, Sony kind of got a free pass. It didn't matter how good Ghostbusters was going to be. Sony got a pass anyway. And then once the emails leaked, even though that should have been pretty damning evidence about what they were doing to the movie and the changes they'd been making. And when you read Paul Feig's original idea for the movie, sounds way better than what he was eventually made or requested to make, or from the producing side of it. So that's a very interesting, again, could spend a lot of time on that one movie, but I want to get to some other stuff here. Sony got a pass. And that has always bothered me because of what it created, is that we don't talk about the now it's comfortable to throw money at a project to make sure that it's successful and make sure that those things get made again. There's probably a tweet out there somewhere that said, it's because Wonder Woman came out before Black Panther, and I said, I hope Wonder Woman makes $1 billion so that it solidifies in people's minds that female superheroes, women superheroes can be successful, and that knocks it out of the park. And when Black Panther comes out the next year, I think it was roughly just paraphrasing my quote, my tweet or whatever it was. And I said, and I hope when Black Panther comes out the next year that it does the same thing, that it makes $1 billion as well. Wonder Woman was a little bit short of that, was pretty darn close to $1 billion, and maybe it's gotten over that, over re-releases. And then Black Panther, we know, definitely got that $1.2 billion. So I was initially very okay with that until these other movies kind of popped up as well, that are just meh. They're just meh. And again, I'm totally admitting could be the bias of things that are not aimed at me. So, like, I'm a big Oceans fan, and I wish Steven Soderbergh had come back to direct Oceans 8, so that it would still have kind of the Oceans feel with the new crew that came into it. A lot of people still like that movie, and it was impactful for them, cool, but it didn't have the Oceans feel from it. But it hits at least one of the check boxes. It's enjoyable, even though I don't know if it's technically made as well as some of the other Oceans movies, but it's still enjoyable. So cool. But we're still throwing money at things like that to make sure that they are successful, to hit almost like these diversity capital or capitalistic money checkpoints. And that's where I think we're going to start to get into trouble, right? If you don't notice, your blockbusters that you watch, that you enjoy, if you enjoy Marvel movies, and actually let me go make a run through the chat. All right. Taryn posted on both. Thank you, Taryn, on both spots, posting the links. Link here before I go into this next part. All right. Hopefully everyone's following me so far. I know I threw a lot on you. Yeah. The concern I have is that you could effectively make a the formula is out there to hit a diversity checkbox that makes enough money to satisfy the masses and get a pat on the back. And actually, I guess what I'm really doing, and I've put this in my notes, is that I'm actively kind of having a conversation with you about a blind spot or a place where I don't know what the right answer is. Because I really want good movies to exist. Like, I want to be able to root for a really good movie. So when Wonder Woman and Black Panther came out, I didn't have any qualms about telling everyone to go see it. And I was able to, like, fully give my voice to both of those movies because I just loved them so much. And I mean, there's not saying there aren't problems with those movies. You know how I feel about the MCU right now. I'll probably explain that more in another time, but there's definitely things I would fix in Black Panther, but it hits both boxes. It's enjoyable. It's technically well made. Wonder Woman, enjoyable, technically well made. That's the two boxes you got to hit. Then we can have a debate about how good you are compared to previous films, but you hit those, we're good in my book. When things don't hit that, it's hard. Richard Roper got lambasted for his, so going back to Ghostbusters, got lambasted for his Ghostbusters review at the time because he was just being honest, using kind of a similar metric. He definitely comes in that same Roger Ebert school of thought, saying that, no, I mean, if you enjoy it, I don't care. It was like, but don't make me have to say that this is good because it's not. And I can list a number of, narrative problems that don't make sense here. Or you're doing a lot of CGI and not practical effects, which again, I know everyone's CGI heavy, so that's not even really trying to take that out of Hyde from Ghostbusters. Just more of a, but also just kind of get it like a Razzie. That's another pile-on moment. So pile-on piece there. O'Doyle rules. All right, fitness. All right, I see you there. So that's definitely some of the initial things that stick out as problems for me. Another wrinkle, though, I will throw into it is Hollywood just makes bad movies too, though. Right? I don't want to hold diverse movies to a standard that's not realistic compared to what Hollywood makes. Hollywood makes a lot of bad movies. It just is. I had a friend message me about She's All That, I think. Is that the movie? Yeah, I think it's She's All That. And they were talking about there's a potential gender swap remake happening of it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. They're really upset. They're like, shouldn't you be, like, why are they changing it? I'm like, well, one, that's off of Pygmalion, and there's something before that. It's based off of two other things. That movie by itself. So I'm like, it's already a remake of it's a story. It's not an original story anyway. It's a movie adaptation of something that's not even an original story. If we've talked about Scarface. Everyone thinks about the Al Pacino Scarface. There's two other Scarface black and white movies before you get to the Pacino one, and then there's the potential reboot coming out with reboot coming out with Michael B. Jordan. So that'd be 4 versions of it. The Mummy. People made fun of the Tom Cruise one for remaking the Brendan Fraser one, but that's not really what it's remaking. It's remaking previous monster movies. So Hollywood likes to recycle. It does not care about being original, or it likes originality when it can make it money. And then they subsequently repackage that and pump it out until it's dead, and it will never die. So even as I'm saying that I'm concerned about this, ultimately, I don't want to hold the diversity of movies up because expecting them to be a higher quality is just not fair because Hollywood does not care. And the general populace, I would say, now you can't be complete garbage. Like if everything was Birdemic and Sharknado, if every movie was that, that's a different conversation. So that's not what we're advocating for. But I think there needs to be a balance. So supporting a movie with your hard-earned dollars, if that's still the model that we have, and knock on wood, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, so there's a lot going on. So I totally understand that that's not as feasible for as many people either going to a movie theater or how their support happens through streaming. So totally understand that. And I think this next comment's directed at fans of a franchise that want to see it done well and have a hard time letting go of that. They don't care. So should I be upset? Like, Lindy Fitness is here, so I'll go into Finn a little bit on Star Wars. Should I be upset that it gave me a character that I thought was going to be better in Star Wars? Yes, I should be upset. It didn't give me license to go off in a way that is unhealthy in the fandom, right? Star Wars fandom is really toxic right now. We need to have another I hope we're keeping notes on the different topics we need to circle back around on. So yes, I can be upset about it. I can explain all the reasons it's problematic, and I do want to see them make changes to that. So if there's future black characters in a Star Wars movie, that we don't have that happen again, where they get teased and a community gets excited, and then, so there is a responsibility as far as like how you relate with your community or the people that are your viewing audience. But even as I say all of that, there is still a line or a reality to take in, is that most Hollywood execs and the companies do not care. They're creating something that's the popular right now that will fit the need right now. So diversity is in to a degree. There's still issues that need to be addressed, but diversity is the in thing to create. So we're going to get mediocre productions, and that is just, it's because we're trying to funnel diversity into the Hollywood machine, into the Hollywood capitalism machine. We're going to get some stuff out that, we could get a really, I'm waiting for the day that we get, I guess how would I say it? A black or a minority movie that seems super progressive, but is basically cotton candy. And someone snarking in the comments might say that's what Black Panther is. No, that is not. That is not what it is at all. But something that's hollow, but makes a lot of money. Something like that's going to come along, and that's probably going to be when I roll my eyes the most. But hopefully you've been listening to that and understand that I predicted it here, that it would most likely happen at some point. I don't know when. I'm not going to give you a date, but I just would not be surprised if it happens. And that's because we're funneling it into the system that already doesn't care. So yeah, if we need to reform it, if we need to make some changes like that, let's have another conversation about that. It may be something to come back to and have that. Because I said I wasn't going to get into the argument of whether capitalism was the right fit or not. But that's what I see, is that you're trying to funnel diversity efforts into a thing that's maybe not made well for it, or doesn't care about it a whole lot, and it's just going to pump out these carbon copies. And if you care about that, let's bring that up. But it also means we have to talk about the quality of things that come out in Hollywood, and I don't think anyone's really been interested in tackling that for a while. So if you're feeling what I'm putting down, let me know that in the comments. Hopefully that is making sense. Somehow it's got sweltering in my room as we've been talking about that. So Lindy Fitness says, Birdemic. I understand that reference. Nice. He also said, 10 Things I Hate About You is a modern Taming of the Shrew. Yes, exactly. If they made a 10 Things I Hate About You sequel, then I'd be like, okay, so Taming of the Shrew 3. I wouldn't bat an eye. I'm like, okay, that is what it is. My Fair Lady. Thank you. That's what it is. My Fair Lady. So, she's all that. My Fair Lady, and then my, Pygmalion. There might have even been one before that. So I just, it's not that I don't, yeah. If you're frustrated at seeing the reboots all over again, don't support it. Go watch something else. But I know it's hard. Lenny Fender says, I'd only watch a 10 Things I Hate About You sequel if they had Alex Mack have a more significant role. Man, they were in that movie. I forgot about that. Well, folks, we got about 5 minutes left. I'm trying to keep these within an hour. Also, because I might have guests and things come onto the show. We will be having guests and things come onto the show over time. And hopefully be gaming a little bit afterwards as well. Kind of like an after the show decompress, just play some games and things like that. That won't be happening tonight just because we started a little bit later. But typically this one will be every other week, 8 p.m. Central for the Super Blerd Variety Hour. And hopefully it won't always be this heavy. But this is one that's just been getting on my nerves. So if you needed a takeaway from the main topic, it's is the current Hollywood system adept? Is the current Hollywood system adept for diversity to flourish? Or to even be decent? Let's see. Lenny Finn has ever had a Maryland mule while watching, so I'm good. Well, thank you. And folks, if you like this show, let your friends know. We will be back April 1st, actually. So it won't be on the 25th. Let me double check myself. 25th. So yeah, April 1st, April Fool's Day. We'll be back. In between week, it'll be Red Shirt Rejects we should be rewatching The Search for Spock. So we'll be doing that. And yeah, I'll hang out here with y'all for a little bit longer, for the last little bit. Some other things to be thinking about. If you're our Patreon subscribers, since Godzilla vs. King Kong is coming out, we are going to watch Shin Godzilla. It's a more recent Japanese Godzilla movie that is a really good retelling or remake of or kind of like reboot, excuse me, of the original Godzilla tale, just modernized for like modern issues. And there's so many things that make sense if you understand current politics in Japan and how it interacts with the world stage. So when you kind of see these puzzle pieces fall into place, you're like, that makes sense. Man, that sucks. That makes sense. The history nerd in me was having a lot of fun watching this movie. And it's also just really well done. And when I try to recommend people watch old Godzilla movies, sometimes it's hard for them to do it because they're either like, it's a dude in a rubber suit, or it's the old black and white original movie. And I get it. It's just not going to be for everyone. So I understand that. But I think this is a good way for you to get the spirit of those older movies in a newer package that maybe appeal to you a little bit more. Looks a little bit better as well. So not a knock on those, but it does really well done. That'll be our Patreon exclusive movie. So you can chat with me and the other Nerd Union cast and alumni and just talk. We'll be hanging out, drinking, watching the movie, having conversations about it afterwards as usual. And that one will be happening on Friday, March the 25th. No, I just said today's Thursday. Sorry, the 26th. 26th. Look for the Facebook event for that one. The next night, on that Saturday, on the 27th, we will be watching Interstellar. And I'll have a video released out that week talking about why I like it better than 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's not saying that Interstellar doesn't have its own issues, but since it's clearly emulating 2001 in certain degrees, I want to kind of break down why that is. And so you can watch that video, and that'd be a good lead into what we're going to watch on Saturday. And as always, Friday on both of those, we'll have an after discussion, and talk about that. So if you like what you've been seeing, definitely join our Patreon to get access to the Friday one. And then on Saturday, that's open to everyone. And if you all like that, we're definitely trying to keep that up once a month and do both of those, do a Patreon and a non-Patreon one, just so that we're kind of hitting both parts of the community, make it as accessible for everyone as you can. So we're excited. We like talking movies here. So I guess since I'm on here, I will talk a little Snyder Cut. So as I said to start the show, I was a little late because I've watched it now 2 times. The second time was with my co-host Major Tom that we do the Commander Shipp show together with. And we recorded ourselves just talking it out, processing the movie as it was happening. Sometime this weekend we'll get that edited down and available to everyone so that you can enjoy that if you want to. It won't time sync up well with like if you're just trying to watch it as we're going through it. It's not that kind of commentary. So I'm going to really condense it down and just kind of like give you the best bits we had in it or the best spots we had out of it. So that'll definitely be my project this weekend. But my review, hopefully I'll stay up late and knock that out. Bam. And let you know what I thought. Spoiler alerts, it didn't grab me. It just didn't grab me. Not for 4 hours. There's a version of that in my head that could be down to 3 hours, and I think it would be a lot better based on what I saw. There's a lot of things that do improve. So as much as people might think I'm going to just smash on Snyder fans, there's a lot of things that do improve. So I have to give them credit for that. There's a lot of things that are better, but not for 4 hours. That is not enjoyable 4 hours. You need to, someone needs to take a hatchet. Someone needs to just take a mallet to it. Take a mallet to it. Shelby says, uncut version for Patreons. Maybe. I feel like it's mostly uncut anyway. But yeah, I'll think about that. I think there's only one thing me and Tom talked about. They were like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that. So we'll not be complaining. What did they say? It's like, so we'll cut that out. yeah, that actually will be going to Patreon users first. So we'll give that to them first, and then give that to y'all first, and then it'll come out for everyone else on YouTube afterwards. My review that's coming out will be for everyone though. Yeah, we are working on trying to get more content out. It's just backlogged, and I'm swamped. I am swamped. I will be staying up to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier tonight, since I've already been up. My sleep schedule's off now, so I'm going to be up anyway, and I just started some booze, so watch Falcon and Winter Soldier. Maybe get 2 reviews. Maybe get the Snyder Cut out, and also get Winter Soldier out as well. If you like Winter Soldier after you watch it this weekend, join us on Tuesday night for the Quorum. We'll be talking about it at 7 p.m. Central. You can catch that. And watch out Sunday afternoon. We will drop a little tidbit for everything that's going to happen for the week. We'll try to make that a more regular occurrence so you know what's coming up throughout the week. But all right, let me double check Facebook, YouTube. Did I miss anything? Nope. I think we are good. So I have now officially been talking for an hour straight, right off of doing recording for 4 hours straight. So my voice needs a rest. I'll finish boozing and get some more water in me. That would be good for the voice. Thank you all for joining me. We are still going to keep making tweaks to this show. So I think the biggest ones were me sitting down versus me standing. If you have a preference, if you'd rather see me monologue and pontificate standing up, I'm totally fine doing that as well. I do feel like I can handle the graphics a little bit better sitting down, because I don't have someone to produce this one for me, but we shall see. The other thing, if there's people that you want me to talk about, or not people to talk about, if there's people you want me to interview, I am also down for that as well. So I'd be very curious, like if there's like, can you interview this person? I would love to do that. Maybe pre-record it and like load it on the show, or maybe do like a extra content thing. I would definitely be down for that. Lindy Fitness says pacing. As far as pacing of the, hold on. Well, you know me, message me. We'll talk about that one. I want to know more what you're, walking back and forth. Yeah, I was doing that a lot. I was thinking about getting like a little table to sit my beer on, so that way I can just grab it, because that's what was happening. That's part of what there's like the in place pacing, and then there was the get my beer pacing. It was a really good beer. I was like, I have to get to this beer. I don't want it to warm up. It's a really good beer. Thank you for that. Thank you for that criticism, or for that that insight. Oh, I didn't see that episode. By pace, I didn't mean walking back and forth. You didn't see, oh dang. Also, hey, what do you mean you didn't? No, shout out to Lindy Fitness for supporting all the Blerds on Facebook as much as you can across. That is energy that I don't have from all the other things I got to write and do. So I love that. So thank you for making the time that you're able to give to us on this show on Mondays, and for Patreon support. We definitely love it. Cool. Last one from, it was 2 weeks ago. If you want to go back and watch, cool. All right. Yeah, I need to go. Voice, I can feel it. It's feel like it's going. Or it's going to be shot. So thank you all for tonight. This has been the Super Blerd Variety Hour. As always, you can throw comments here at the end of the video. Patreon, I am always on I am always on Discord. So if you always have some follow-up questions or things you want to say, or start a topic on Discord, and we'll see if the Nerd Union folks jump in and talk about it. We'd love to have you there. But thank you all for your time. And until see you in 2 weeks, April 1st. Have a good night.